Hello and welcome. Today we've got something simple for you. So sit down, stick around, and enjoy. Hello and welcome. Today we're starting a new form of class, and it is a X-Men class. So welcome to Gambit 101. So sit back and enjoy. We're going to start off today's class like we do with any other class, and it's going to be with the first appearance. Gambit's first appearance is in Uncanny X-Men number 266. And goes over to Uncanny X-Men number 267. And in this story, we're first introduced to the Cajun man Gambit, a thief from New Orleans, Louisiana, and he actually meets up with D.H. Storm, who is running away from the nanny and the orphan maker. In essence, what happens is Gambit and Storm get together and they fight this nanny and orphan maker, and in the end, they get away, and Storm, who was DH at the time, gradually starts to get her memories back, and then she leads Gambit back to the X-Men. The storyline itself is a little whack, but you know, that's how it happens sometimes in the Marvel Universe. But overall, at least we're introduced to Gambit for the first time, and what Gambit does is he's a master thief, and he has the ability to make any objects, I should say, its kinetic energy come through and use it to its full capacity. For an example, he'll use the playing cards, and with the kinetic energy of the playing card, he'll make it basically explode and you'll throw it at you. Now, Gambit's origin was only revealed a long time later, as he is filled with secrets, as you may guess. Gambit was actually a child that was stolen from a hospital, and he was stolen by the Thieves Guild in Louisiana. And the Thieves Guild always had like a vendetta, if you will, with the Assassins Guild. It was thieves versus assassins, and they always meshed, if you will. They always attacked each other, type thing. They never really got along. Their relationships were getting strained. What's happening now is that Gambit, in order to try to bring peace to this seemingly disintegrated relationship between the two, marries a granddaughter of the Assassin Guild's head honcho, who is Belladonna. What happens is he marries her, and then Belladonna's brother gets mad and challenges Gambit to a duel, and Gambit kills Belladonna's brother during the duel, and then this causes him to be expulsed, if you will, out of the Thieves Guild. And that's when he leaves New Orleans and will later on find Storm. The important thing to note here is this all takes place in Gambit's miniseries. You can read about this. It's the way that it kind of reminds you of a Romeo and Juliet-esque type story. There's two different factions. They don't like each other. You get two people from each faction try to come together and get married, and it all goes to hell. That's kind of what happens. And Gambit will later on join the X-Men with the help of Storm, and he will actually fall in love with somebody else on the team, and he goes after Rogue. This is kind of an interesting relationship that builds here between the two, because as we all know through the X-Men movies, if you watch those, or if you read the comic books, you know right through there, is that Rogue can't touch anybody, because naturally she could actually end their lives by touching them. That's one of her curses of her powers. And Gambit loves to touch. So it's kind of funny to see these two together. And in this issue, it's actually their first date. This is X-Men number 24. It's the first date of Rogue and Gambit. Gambit always cared for Rogue a great deal, and he still does. And it's kind of hard for him to go into a relationship with her because he can't touch her, he can't do anything with her. And they discuss in this issue about how they're going to take love to an all new level, because it'll be a love where it's not really a physical love. It's kind of nice to see him as a gentleman, take her out and all that. It's kind of neat. Gambit has always been shrouded in mystery, and something that's been hinted for a long time by Sabretooth was that Gambit had a secret. Now, unknown to the world what that secret was, finally in the Uncanny X-Men number 350, The Trial of Gambit, we finally find out what exactly this Cajun has been hiding for all these years from the X-Men. In this issue, we learn that Gambit was actually part of the Great Mutant Massacre. What happens is, when Gambit is thrown out of the Thieves Guild, and before he actually meets up with Storm for the first time in Uncanny number 266, he will meet up with Mr. Sinister. And Mr. Sinister will give him a little gift, if you will, in order for him to do him a favor. And the favor was to get together the biggest band of badasses, if you will, that he could. So he got together Sabretooth and another gang of mutants, which are called the Marauders. Now, in this issue, you'll see that Gambit is asked by Sinister one last favor, and that is to lead the Marauders into the underground tunnels to find what are called the Morlocks. And these are kind of like a deformed version of mutants. Well, they're not all deformed, but they're like the mutants living underneath the streets, if you will, that have sought refuge. Sinister wants them dead, and he sends Gambit to lead all of the Marauders down there to get them. Gambit doesn't know why he's leading them down there. But when Gambit finally gets down there and tracks down the Morlocks, the mutant massacre begins as Sabretooth and the gang just totally eradicate them. Gambit does manage to save one of the Morlocks, who is Marrow, and she will later on have a impact in the X-Men world. I'm not going to give too much of it out, but she'll have an impact later on in her life. After it's revealed that Gambit was part of it, Rogue basically abandons him, and then Gambit tries to find some way to redeem himself. This is where we lead to Gambit of the current day, mostly. Gambit will be involved in a huge storyline, which will start in Uncanny X-Men number 180, and it'll go on. In X-Men 180, I mean, it'll go on, until we see Apocalypse. Gambit finds Apocalypse, and Apocalypse wants to cut Gambit a deal in order to make him one of his horsemen. Gambit knows that in the end that Apocalypse will destroy the X-Men, and he doesn't want to see Rogue die. So what he does, he willingly joins Apocalypse in order to hopefully make him change his mind or influence his decision in destroying the X-Men. What Gambit doesn't know is that Apocalypse's transformation is a lot more powerful than his will. So Gambit gets turned into one of Apocalypse's horsemen. Right here, 185. Gambit gets turned into Death. Which is basically Gambit with black skin, white hair, those red eyes, and a new uniform, if you will. Gambit isn't fully brainwashed by the Apocalypse transformation. He does still have some memories remaining in his head. And as he'll point out to Apocalypse, he'll call himself, I am both Death and Gambit. So he still has some memories. In the end of the storyline, though, what will happen is Sunfire will take Gambit away, which is one of the other horsemen. He'll take Gambit away, and they will hide for a while. And they will hide in a temple in which Gambit will get reacquainted with Mr. Sinister, who claims that he has been waiting for him. So that's all we know for Gambit for now. In the storyline, Gambit was taken away, turned into Death, and now is sitting with Mr. Sinister. All speculation leads that in X-Men number 200, we'll see the return of Gambit. But will we see Gambit? Will we see Death? Will we see both? You don't really know.